Hey friends, Cherie here. Welcome back to the channel, Gardening at Home with Cherie. Well, it has been a few weeks and it is time to up pot the strawberries and other soft fruits that I started from seed. We started these together in a video. If you missed that video, I will link to it in the description box, and I'll try to remember to pop the iCard up here in this video too, so you can just click on that and go straight to that video where I shared the varieties and gave you some of the descriptions of these seeds, these plants. And so now we're going to be up potting most of them. You can see here most things have germinated. They're all growing at different rates. Some things took longer than others to germinate, and you can see here some things have grown much larger than others. Some things are yet to germinate, or they just germinated and they were kind of hidden, so they're like very leggy. So we'll see what we do with those. We might restart those seeds, or we will up pot them and plant those stems and see, how they grow. But it's time to get these out of these trays. These larger plants are overshadowing the smaller plants, and they need to be in more soil so they can get bigger and be ready for transplanting outside. See here, the roots have grown out of the mesh that's keeping the soil pods together. It's like a netting, and it's designed so that the roots will grow through, but they need to get up potted. They will get separated because as I mentioned in the video where we sewed these together, I wasn't exactly sure of how well these things would germinate. Some of the seed packs were old. All of these were new for me pretty much to attempt to even grow from seed. And so most of them I sowed 2 to 3 seeds per pod. So I will be separating them, most of them, or I'll up pot them together and I'll separate them when I transplant them, depending on how many things have germinated and how many containers I have. So yeah, I'm gonna get my containers are ready and filled with soil, and we will start separating out these pods by type so we can have a closer look at how they did. And yeah, we'll get them up potted. All right, friends, so let's have a peek at the first 3 varieties of seeds that I'm gonna up pot. So these 3 here in the front are the giant ground cherries, and you can see here 2 of them have germination. This third one was completely covered by the huge leaves here, so there's no germination. Whoops. There's no germination in that middle pod. I have already sown more of those, and so I'm not going to worry about it. I did a bunch more of the ground cherries and the strawberries after I saw that things were germinating well. And so I have some areas in the garden where I'm just going to use those as ground cover, and just hope to harvest as much as I can, knowing that because they're in areas that aren't protected, the squirrels and the chipmunks might like them. I don't know. We'll see. But I am always fighting against them anyway. So the more I plant, hopefully the more I get to harvest myself. So that's kind of my plan of attack for this first year growing these things from seed. So I'm going to get these 2 up potted. I'm going to put that aside, that third one. And then I have all 3 pods here of the garden huckleberry. They have germination in those, so those are going to get up potted. And then this one here in the back, okay, let me see if I don't butcher this name. This is a huckleberry variety, Chichiquilite. Now, both of these huckleberry varieties, remember, these are berries that are poisonous if you are eating them when they're not ripe. So oh look, I just noticed, so this one here looks like it did not. I think these roots that you see on here are from the other plants because it was just like a root mesh at the bottom there. So anyway, I only have 2 of those huckleberry pods that have germinated. So I'm going to put that aside too. But this one has 2 plants in it. This one has 2 too. They're much smaller. So that's what happened. I think they weren't all germinating at the same time. And then they overshadow some of them as they grow big. So whatever. I'm going to go ahead and split this one up. So I have 3. And then these I'm not even going to bother splitting up because these just, I guess I was just sprinkling seeds in those. And so anyway, I'm going to leave those clustered like that. And when I transplant them outside, I'll separate them. But anyway, let me get these, what is that now? 3 plus 4, 7 plants transplanted. Okay, so I got those transplanted. I'm going to put some little stakes here to kind of keep those propped up. And I'm probably going to move these larger ones to their own tray so that they're not, overshadowing these smaller plants when they're on the shelf. So anyway, I have this one empty one here, and I have these 3 here. So I'm going to go ahead and pot up these wonder berries there. These are one of the ones I talked about. They must have germinated after these. Actually, they're next to these blackberries here. And so they must have germinated after these were quite tall, because then they weren't getting much light, so they got super leggy. So I have here a total of 5 little sprouts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pot those up, and I'm going to plant them down pretty low and see if they will grow and not be leggy, and once they get some good light. And then I'm also going to sow more of these seeds. Again, I think I'm going to use, for some of these that I need to reseed that weren't getting enough light, I'm going to reseed those in some different containers so that they are not, so that they can't be overshadowed by taller, quicker growing plants. And that's one of the things, I do like using these trays and these seed pods, because I can get 78 plants into this tray. But I do typically sow similar seeds. So like if I'm sowing tomatoes, I'll just put tomatoes in there if I do peppers, because I do know that, typically the different vegetables will germinate differently. So I don't want to have something that germinates quickly, like a lettuce or something, mixed in with like a pepper that might need a week or 2. And then the lettuce gets really big and overshadows the pepper seed and blocks the light. But this was just an experiment for me. And I probably should have pulled some of these bigger ones out, but I have a lot going on. And it's fine. I have plenty of seeds of the ones that didn't get great germination. I started these super early for that reason, so that I could have time to observe and then, sow some more seeds if necessary. So I'm way ahead of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. I'm going to get, so you can see here, these are all the strawberries, and all the strawberries look fantastic as far as germination. Some of them were a little bit, slower than others to germinate. Like this looks like this here looks like it just started to germinate. But that's fine. Again, once I get these things up potted, they'll be able to get great light and continue to grow and be ready for me to transplant out. Probably, I'm probably like a month to 6 weeks out from when I can safely put my plants out. So still plenty of time. All right, so I'm going to just go through, get the rest of these things transplanted quickly so I don't keep you. And I'll talk to you about what I did at the end. Okay, so I've started with the strawberries now, and I just want to show you. First of all, I'm using these really tall pots because I do want to give the plants, they still need to be indoors for probably a good, it's March, so it's probably like another 6 months before I'll start hardening these off in the greenhouse. Not 6 months, did I say 6 months? So it's probably going to be another 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks before I start hardening these off and then getting them into the greenhouse. And then I'm going to double check, but I think I should have made note when I put my strawberries out last year. Strawberries don't, need it to be like super warm before you put them out. In fact, for the varieties that I've grown before and I've always bought them as transplants, they actually produce better when the weather is cooler, and then when it gets really hot, they kind of slow down, and then they fruit in the fall. So I am gonna probably succession plant these out, especially since I have so many. I didn't know how the germination would be, and these germinated and grew really easily. So I am just want to show you here the little pods. The ones that I get do allow the roots to grow through them. You can put this whole thing in, like this. I have to dig it a little deeper, but you can stick the whole pod in there and put soil around it. But I do take my netting off. Now in the process, I do rip some of the roots. I try to be as gentle as possible, but because I'm up potting these when they're already so big and they have a lot of roots, I haven't had an issue with that. You just gotta play it by ear and see. You do want to be as gentle as possible, but I haven't had any trouble with the plants then dying because they lost a little bit of their roots when I take the netting off. So I just wanted to show you that, okay? So I'm going to get back to getting the rest of the strawberries up potted. All right, I'm working my way through up potting the strawberries, and I just wanted to show you a couple of them have already started creating these little trailing pieces, these runners. I think they're called runners. And so I think what I'm going to do for now is just let them hang over the pot, see how they grow. Then I might come in and snip those off and just root those. Or maybe what I should do something like this maybe, because it looks like this. Yeah, I'm gonna do that, see what happens, because that's what I do outside, the runners. I bury that little piece. So I'm gonna bury that little piece there, and we're gonna see what happens. And I'm gonna leave this one alone. Since this is my first time growing strawberries from seed, I just want to play around and observe and learn better how they grow. Okay, friends, so everything is transplanted. If you look here, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, looks like 10 pods that I didn't get anything from. I have some of everything except for the orange narangilla. And so I'm gonna save these to see if they're just really slow to germinate. And then the rest of these I'm gonna go ahead and sow more of, especially the strawberry ground cherries and the giant ground cherries. I think I've already sown more of the giant ground cherries actually, because I did another batch at Tomotia's and I put ground cherries with those trays. But I want to have more of the strawberries since I see that they just took longer to germinate. So I'm going to sow those separately. I'm going to sow more of all of these that didn't germinate separately. And then all the strawberries did great with the exception of these 2 pods, which I can see now they're just coming up. And they were kind of hidden under those wonderberry leaves. So I'm going to set these aside in a little container. Let those finish germinating and growing. One of these is the Red Wonder wild strawberry, and the other one is the White Soul. But I have lots of those that did flourish. So let's show you what's been up potted. So if we look here are 9 strawberries, and you can see here, they're really looking beautiful and healthy. I'm going to give these a really light watering with some dilute compost tea that I make myself indoors. I'll do that in a day or 2. Right now they've just been up potted into moist soil, but it's a potting mix. So the potting mix does have, I better leave that alone. The potting mix obviously does come with a little bit of it's an organic potting mix that I use, and it has some organic fertilizer nutrients in it. So these should really start to thrive once they acclimate to their new pots. I notice here that these here are the Spatzenbeeren, or the blackberries that I grew from seed. And I can see here that they look like they're already putting on little fruit pods on some of them. And so I think these are pretty cold hardy. I might start to harden these off on my screen porch in about a week already, and then get those into my greenhouse because they look like they're just very fast growers. And then so I have 6 of those. A couple of them, it looks like I sowed multiple seeds, so I'll be able to split those up. I'll probably end up with like 10 of these plants. This here is a lychee tomato. This is a dwarf tamarilla, both of these. And so I got little babies growing there. So I'm gonna leave those alone, let them grow. And again, I'll be able to split those up into multiple plants. And over here on this shelf, this is the first container that we did, which is the giant ground cherries, as well as the wonderberries, I believe. Let's see. Oh no, these are huckleberries. So huckleberries. I think those are all 6. No, it's a mixture of huckleberries and wonderberries and giant ground cherries. And then the rest of these are strawberries. So these are all strawberries, 9 different strawberries. Here I have, what is that, 4 times 4? So 16, because these are smaller containers. And then over here, I have more strawberries in the back. I have 5 of those strawberry seeds I got in Italy. And then I have strawberry ground cherry, lychee tomato, strawberry ground cherry, strawberry ground cherry. So like I said, I did get some of pretty much everything except for that one soft orange fruit. Those are old seeds. But I am going to try it again, and I'm going to leave those pods. Otherwise, we will check in. I have a lot of trays growing. So many tomatoes and peppers just growing along. And again, I even have some onions that are going to go out soon. I have different kinds of greens that need to grow out. Some of them already bolted, but I'm going to salvage what I can from there and get those transplanted out. Get those onions out. And then again, these are just peppers, tomatoes, tomatillas, ground cherries. Lots and lots of food started from seed. From eggplant, lots of eggplant. Oh, I'm doing a lot of eggplant. Very exciting. So, all right, that's it for today. I will be back again. I have to set up a 3rd shelf because I still haven't started my cucumbers and squash and okra and flowers. But it's about that time. I'm about 6 weeks, 7 weeks out from when I usually plant out these kinds of warm crops. But I can get the tomatoes and cucumbers, but I can get the cucumbers and lettuces and lots of greens out and a lot of the flowers out way earlier than the tomatoes and peppers. So I need to get those started. They also grow faster, so I don't need to start them as early. But it's that time. And like I mentioned in an earlier video, I do plan to plant things into my 2 greenhouses. And so, yeah, I can start those things outside a bit earlier. All right, friends, I'll see you guys back here again soon. Bye.
If only I could finish something, run straight through to the end, close a chapter dignified. Dang, girl, you did it again. But will it ever be enough when I'm bent on trying to keep it tough? Will I ever settle down, happy with the here and now? trying to keep myself real tough.